A lot of my work is about resistance. Resistance of bodies, resistance of culture, and resistance, maybe political also in a way. So it's sort of, or very often me trying to test things and to push against things, be it real rocks or be it a grander sort of historical narratives that I'm trying to push again, or maybe sort of slightly tap at and go in and subvert them through an introduction of a fictional story or something of that sort. And perhaps a very important element for me in the work is humor, because I think it's a very direct way to connect to the public. And I'm very interested in that moment of when you laugh and you sort of, and then you question yourself, what exactly am I laughing at? So this like, oh, and then sort of this processing that starts. So that's also something I'm interested in. So I've been invited by Caucasus Foundation to initially do a show by Supertaus, but I've been like thinking for a while that I wanted to do a symposium and I wanted to do a summit. And I've invited my partner to collaborate with me, and we came up with this society, which is Superhero Sighting Society, and then a symposium called Superhero Summit, which took place in Paris in November. But basically, main idea was that we were trying to imagine an image of the world or paint a landscape of the world through little superheroes that emerge. So we've researched with Dagestan, with sort of my studio team, different superheroes that appear, and chose about 33 heroes. And then with the writer Jessica Saxby, we wrote sighting stories. Where they were sighted, by who, what they were doing. And then there was this 5-channel audio installation in different languages. So this is exactly what is presented at the Tetley Atrium, is Superhero Sighting Society installation. Yeah, it's also a very different space, because when we showed it in Paris, it was a very sort of like compact space, so you really felt the scale. But here there's also a possibility to look at all this landscape from above, so you actually become some sort of drone and have that viewpoint. So I'm quite interested in how this would work. One of the works that is exhibited here is called Samar Spa. It sort of developed from a research visit to Blackburn House, which used to be the first girls' school in Liverpool, and now it's an education center for women. And I felt it was very empowering space, sort of giving women a lot of new skills and sort of a lot of confidence, and I want to do something there. And also at the time I was obsessed with ASMR videos. If you haven't watched them, you should. It's these videos that you find online, recorded with 3D mics that sort of have someone whispering in your ear, or like doing a facial or doing a haircut for you, and it's so relaxing, like you fall asleep immediately, and I think that's why a lot of people watch them. I've also invited Sasha Kutavoy, who's a fantastic artist, to work on a sculptural installation in the project. And he came up with this incredible idea of, like, you know, taking an antique sort of Greek head as a base, and then we kept breaking these heads, you know, those heads that students practice on. And then from the shards, we composed the furniture, and later on sort of enlarged them and sort of made them real. So you're literally sort of lying down on a broken down face, you're getting a facial, and you're listening to stories about works of art that have disappeared through history and disintegrated. You're listening to stories of the beautician that's doing that facial for you, and she's recounting a story how an art restorer came to visit her to feel what his artworks feel. So it's I think it's a complicated project which has a lot of elements, including cosmetics products, which were especially developed. One thing that excites me in Hold Your Horses is sort of the multiplicity of practices that came together in this show. And it's sort of this multiplicity, which I quite enjoy, because I think everyone's practice should be playful. I mean, this is why we're doing it, just to sort of play and test things. And so it's Superhero Sighting Society, it is the Unbound, it is Supertaus, it's me, and also my practice as myself. Includes several elements, like kind of more more seductive videos, let's put it that way. I love seducing people with works. Seducing into sort of being mesmerized and then sort of trying to think of, oh, there's a danger that the artworks are in. There's a question of precarity in being an artist and loads of other things. Sometimes I think I'm just making one work. It's just in many different ways, in a way. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's one work that I'm making continuously, or maybe it's one starting point that sort of goes in very many different directions. And I wonder if it's going to be visible. I'm very curious if it's going to be visible to the audience. And of course, I'll be very curious to the audience reaction, be it in a form of really quickly disappearing photographs that can be taken away from the show, or be it in the form of comments on social media. I'm looking forward to how leads will react.